And the recordings are also all organized in a Google Doc that's pinned in the featured section of our team page as well. So today we're really excited for this training. The leaders of our team, we kind of meet once a month, and we were talking at the start of the month of like, where are some areas that we feel like the team could use like just extra guidance, extra training. And so we have a really fun series of trainings that we've been doing and will continue to do. But one of them was the idea of a launch plan. Because for a lot of people, including some of ourselves, like the idea of a launch maybe in the past was like you do a coming out post or you do an info group or you do one thing and that's your launch, right? And depending on how that goes, it can build you some momentum, or it might be that for some folks, be that like that little negative voice, like, oh, see, no one wants you to do this because it didn't go exactly how you wanted to go. And we wanted to really just address that and just kind of speak to that because that's a really normal thing to happen. And I don't know if any of you have kind of launched or try to do some posts or starting to put your toes in the water, you full on jumped into the deep end and you're like, this isn't happening as fast or as smooth or as easily as I wanted it to, or as maybe comparing yourself to someone else who seemed to go a little bit smoother. And so, and if that is the case, like you're not alone. I think that there's no one way to launch. There's no one way to ramp up a new business. And especially, and what we're discovering here, which is really actually pretty cool, is that there are so many really fun, unique ways that might be newer to us that we wouldn't have necessarily seen in the past at our other company or just in like kind of a different era. So what we're going to do today is share a bunch of different ways that a lot of the leaders have found their own unique way. What you're going to find is that every single leader and every single one of y'all we've all done it differently. And it's all been really beautiful and bumpy and awesome and unique. And I think that the point of that I hope you take home with you today is that it's really about finding what's going to work for you, but it also isn't a one and done thing, right? You're not going to hear any of us share like, oh, I did this thing and then it was great and then my business was on track, right? It is a mindset of like 3, 6, and Jace might even talk about a year-long launch plan as we like really look at the big term vision of what you're wanting to do here. So I share kind of all that on the front end because I want you to take off that anything you're coming into this call with of like your frustrations, insecurities, comparison, and like take it off, put it off to the side, and like wipe the slate clean. We have a brand new month starting tomorrow. And I want you to really look at like each new week, each new month as like a new opportunity to kind of like grow into that next level of your launch. Does that make sense? Right? Doesn't that sound a little bit more fun than thinking like I have to get it right this one time? A lot of pressure. And I think a lot of times we put a lot of that pressure on ourselves. So we're gonna keep this like more conversational and casual because again, this has been a really fluid experience for all of us and it has looked a lot different. And a lot of us have done a lot of the things, but we're gonna kind of speak to specific we're not gonna overlap too much because we wanted you to hear a really nice broad variety. So does anyone feel excited to share first? James, go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to go through because I think this is an important point to make is I was not forward facing and sorry, I just got out of the shower. My eyes are so red. I was not forward facing for about 4 to 5 weeks in the beginning of my business. So I had to take it back to the way I started my Beachbody business years ago, which was actually talking to people and not relying on social media. So I'm going to tell you guys what I did step by step pretty quickly. First and foremost, I used the product and I learned everything I could about it. I took 1 solid week and I listened to those formulator calls, especially I knew I was going to focus on hydrate detox in the morning supplements first. So I knew everything. I went through and I, went back through my textbooks, Googled, why is magnesium important? I did not know much about glutathione, so I needed to understand why that was helping people, why it's important. I needed to understand, like I was learning about Soleil's, that's an electrolyte drink, all of these things. I researched DE 111 Sorry if you guys can hear that dinging. I thought I turned do not disturb on. I researched why our probiotic was different because it is a different strain. It's not lactobacillus. So I knew I needed to know these things before I started reaching out to people. And once I did that, I created, I don't have them with me, but they're on the table back there, about 5 different lists. I had one whole list of people in my real life, had nothing to do with my current customers, with fitness, but loved everything natural, have chickens, grow their own food, all that kind of stuff. I had a list of people who had bought herbal face food from me. I had a list of loyal customers. I mean, list after list after list. And what I did is I created about like a 1 minute voice memo that was very generic, so it didn't say their name. And on Facebook, you can forward this to a zillion people, so you don't have to recreate that a million times. And it was basically like, hey, you're going to start seeing this. I am transitioning away from this other company. And this is why I'm so excited about the mission I'm on now. And please let me know if we can either get on the phone or if I can send you more info. And it was so short and sweet, but it was a voice memo. And I sent that to tons and tons of people. And most important is I followed up and I actually got them on the phone, conversation after conversation. And when I get them on the phone, they can hear my excitement. And at this point, I knew the science. So I knew my stuff because I'd been studying. All right, so that's a basic thing that you guys could probably, guess. The other things I did a wine night. So I messaged all my girlfriends in a group thread and said, hey, my house will be open from 5 to 9 on Thursday. I'm going to have wine and snacks in between picking your kids up from dance, whatever, come over. And I had all the product lines out and I was able to really spend time with each of them and go through the product lines. That's one thing I did. I did email newsletters. I tried info groups. That was a bust for me. I would like to try again. I did lunches. I asked my accountant to go to coffee, and I just took my little sample bag everywhere. And I have to say something. So I did sample kits in the beginning. I got these cute little glass vials. I had a soap, some hydrate detox. When I first started sharing these sample kits online, I got like zero response, or someone would private message me and like, hey, I'll grab one of those. Now, because I've been talking about the science behind these products for 3 or 4 months, when I just did the same exact post, I mean, boom, 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 boom. I want one. I want one. I want one. I want one. So it's just the testament to they have to hear you talk about it over and over and over. They have to understand why these ingredients are important for our lives. And you guys as reps, you need to understand why they're important. You need to understand how the kidney functions differently with electrolytes. And that's on you. Like, it's so simple to Google, but then we have that knowledge, so then we can share that on social media and start to resound. Because I know when Amy first said, you have to try this hydrate detox, I was like, oh, another drink, like, what is it? What's that great about it? So we have to understand what's so great about it and how it helps our body function the best. And the last thing I'm going to say on the retail aspect, because I'm diving further into that now, is I wanted to make sure I knew my stuff backwards and forwards before I sat in front of a doctor and explained to her why she needed to have hydrate detox for her clients. So I really practiced with my warm market, like while I was getting Botox, I was, dropping little nuggets about this company. And when she said she sells semaglutides, I said, oh my gosh, I would love to have 30 minutes of your time scheduled that I can come back and explain why our products would really benefit your clients. I went to a girl I know on Facebook who does mobile Botox and she does telemed. I met with her at her home. I went to the woman who tints my lashes and I said, do you have a skincare line? And I went and presented the skincare line and really practiced on people that I'm comfortable with. So now I can start cold calling IV clinics. I just have a card of a mobile IV lady, but I really got to practice in a safe space. So really, the last thing I'm going to say is always think, how can I get the most eyes on my product? There's got to be multiple ways. We cannot rely on one way. How can we get the most eyes on your product?
I love that. Just if people have questions for Jamie, put them in the chat. I just think like the testament to the magic is in your inbox. You did so much behind the scenes just in your inbox. Like you were already like, topping the leaderboards there. So I think there's that alone, like, and that I think So I know it can be intimidating to feel like you have to be an expert, but like while Jamie was learning these things, she was in her inbox. It wasn't like she learned all the things and then she started talking to people. She was doing those two things simultaneously. I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to like wait until you have know everything, but like be intentional about mastering your competency as well. In that voice memo you sent to people, what did it say? Like like you said, you transitioning away from one company to another. Did you specifically say what company you were or what the product, what the focus was, or what was the hook there for people to respond?
Yeah, for me, because this is very personal and it wouldn't always apply to everyone, I said, as you maybe know, I'm going through my holistic nutrition degree and I found a line of supplements that perfectly aligns with it, that aligns with the science of it. They have no heavy metals, they're hormone safe, no endocrine disruptors, and I love the mission this company is on. So then I think the main point here too is I said, can I send you a longer voice memo that I had already recorded, a 3 minute just about the morning routine? I said, or do you want to get on the phone? Because I wanted to see, some people don't want to get on the phone. I do. I'd rather just get on the phone. Some people want that voice memo. So that's when I recorded that and I already had that ready to go, to send out to people. So once I did it one time, I already had it ready.
I love it. Any other questions for Jamie? In your wine night, you obviously told them wine snacks and something else, right? Or was it like, did they?
Yeah, I told them, I said, I really want you guys to come by and see all of these new products that I'm so excited about. So I had the cleaning stuff on the island. Sorry, I've got what you had. I think I had the face stuff in the middle and then, all the supplements on the other side. So I could really go through because they were popping in sporadically. So it gave me time to really talk about the products and explain why they were amazing, gave out little samples of body oil, gave them all a hydrate detox to take home.
Love it. And then how much are you selling your sample kits for, or are you not selling them?
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Right now I have one for 30 and one for 40. So the one I put online, I think it was like 7 hydrate detox, a bar soap, and 2 body oils. And I already know what the shipping is. I think, yeah, that I did for 30, but as soon as they get in my inbox and I'm like, hey, do you want me to also add a sample of the morning and night serum? And that's 40. And most people say, yeah, throw that in too.
I love it. Thank you for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
Jace was also behind the scenes for quite a while. Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think it would be good because my approach was completely opposite of that, which is so funny, but that's why we're having this call because it's so good, right? Um, so I'll just kind of go through what I did, but I think for me, like honestly, I think my approach just in general is so different because I really do look very long term. I'm not so concerned with like what benchmark am I going to hit? Like, what goal am I going to hit this month? I am 100% committed to the mile markers. And that's what I do with my advocates as well. And I think that has served me long term more than anything else. And so, personally, for me, I signed up in October. That's when I bought the product. I committed to just using it, investing in it myself, started to plant like little seeds, started telling my old team that I was leaving, just little things like that. But I definitely was not forward facing. I definitely was not like 100% like, let's go. I was definitely like, I literally just got out of one relationship and jumped into another. Let's make sure that this isn't like another toxic situation. You know what I mean? Like that really was kind of like, I need to really just take my time. So November, I was completely behind the scenes. That was me reaching out to my current market, like anybody that was in my circle that I wanted to invite into this one. And I was very selective. I was very intentional. I was not talking about it on social media. I'm sure Jamie was like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? And I would just be like, I'm not really worried about that. She'd be like, do you want to go to leadership? And I'm like, I'm not really worried about that. Right. Like I was not focused on the benchmarks. I was focused on the very first steps. So in November, that's when I really started to get more aggressive about the follow-up. That's when I started to get more aggressive in my inbox, like Jamie was saying, and just again, intentionally planting seeds in all of the different areas that I possibly could, personal, community, social, virtual, just all the different sides of it. And the main thing that I want to just point out, which I think Jamie did a little bit of, is the way that you really launch for the long haul is diversification. And anyone that tells you that's trying to build wealth will say they are diversified. That's like number one. Their money isn't all in one spot. And so when you think about this business and you look at it that way, it's the exact same thing, even though it's a little bit more, it's a little less traditional of a business. But if you really think about your business, like, okay, what can I get going in the community side of it? Like, how can I host parties, right? And you can gauge, am I ready for that yet or not? And if you're not, put it a couple months down the road. By March, by April, that's what my goal was. I want to be able to have a launch party, like a physical party of some kind. That wasn't an immediate goal for me. So you think about your community side, you think about your virtual side. So by December, I really was like, okay, I have to go front facing with this if I really want this to grow. And by that point, I was invested. I had soft launched what I call with my warm market. And I just really needed to go to that next step. I had to do something different in order to make something different happen. That's really just what happens. And so I launched on Instagram in December, and I really wanted to give before I asked. I wanted to give before I took. And so I did, my launch post, and then I did a giveaway because it was close to Christmas. And I just kind of collected people that would be interested in this kind of product on my Instagram page to gauge interest, to get feedback. That was really my expectation. It wasn't to sign people up or sell. It was to gauge interest and see what products people were drawn to. And it was information gathering. But in that process, I created a huge list of interest, right? And again, my goal wasn't to follow up with every single one of them that month and sell to them. My goal was to learn. And I think that that's really important in the beginning. Like Jamie said, she was learning, but she was communicating as she was learning. And that's really the key. I think a lot of people hold back the communication because they don't know how to talk about it yet, which we can talk about. But if you just kind of let people learn as you learn, just think about that process. Like that's how everybody learns, and everybody learns faster if we're just willing to kind of bring them along that journey. So December was really successful. I learned how to leverage the business with gift cards. I learned how to get creative with the comp plan. I learned how to send links. I learned how to make a sale. I learned how to do a giveaway. I learned so much that way. And then January hit and I was like, I'm not ready for social media yet. I'm not there. And I wasn't. And so I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to pull back and I'm going to diversify in another way. And I kind of went back to my warm market and I really started to dive into my advocates. So November, I spent an extensive amount of time really trying to find some good, strong advocates to like bring a core foundation into my business. I wasn't focused on quantity. It was all about quality. But what was cool is I knew already, and if any of you guys have been in this long enough, you purchase your own stuff, you start using your own stuff. 2 weeks later, you buy a ton more stuff and then experience that stuff, right? And then you get excited and then you start talking about it. And so that's what I was really committed to with my advocates that signed up in November. December was their learning month. December was their test month to experience, to repurchase, to like get invested. And so again, I just started seeing these milestones and these benchmarks, which I can share if you guys want, that I look for, not only in my own journey, but in the journey of my advocates or my customers. And once those milestones start getting hit, that's when I know, okay, things are like blossoming, like this is working. And that was the belief and confidence that I needed. I needed to see that this was something that actually was making people win, because we'd been in a situation where that wasn't the case for so long. And I wasn't about to bring a ton of people to something that wasn't going to work, right? So again, approach just totally different. Wasn't really super focused in building big, super fast. But I think it's really important to understand, like when you set expectations for your business, and this is really what I wanted to talk about as far as approach. If you're learning a long-term launch. And that's what you want for your business. You have to really set different expectations of success. And a lot of people are very recognition driven. That's what these companies attract. And so sometimes that definition of success looks like they hit this next rank, they hit this, they hit this, they hit this. And it's just, there's so much recognition in your face all the time that I just really wanted to ground my advocates and everybody in this sense of, this is great, but this business also starts over every single month, which I love because it forces sort of that cleansing of the recognition toxicity, because there's good and bad to that. It can defeat some people. It can really motivate some people. It can bring both sides to it. And so it was really cool to just be able to kind of ground in the different things that I wanted to embrace and the things that I really wanted to let go. But also, you guys, it's super key within yourself to understand, like, every single month is a clean slate. So that means this month you could do incredible. And next month, like this month was a really hard month for me. I have a special needs kid. Sometimes I tell Jamie, I'm like, I lost like 3 weeks of my life this month, like, because it's just a roller coaster. However, what I've learned through the last 3 months is this business can be built in like 1 day, 1 week, like one really solid day. I still hit senior mentor this month. I still qualified for Hawaii. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. But it's just those little tiny things that you're doing, those little seeds that you're planting and diversifying out, right? In your community, in your warm market, virtually, with your advocates, with their customer base. Like, it's those little seeds that just start to pop and plant all over the place. And what's cool is no matter how defeated any of my advocates have been at any given time in the month, we're able to turn that around because success can happen so quickly. So don't worry so much about the pace and how fast you're going. Really just understand that success is something that you want to feel long-term. It's not something that you want to feel like is constantly fleeting from you, right? So that's one thing, is I really try to set the expectation of success for myself long-term. So a couple things with this, if you are looking for a mindset strategy, which mine 100% is, it's what helps me take action and do all the things that Jamie said, is to just really understand the first year of your business is about exploration. You have to try a billion different things. And it's not, did I succeed or did I fail? It's, did that work or did that not work? That's it. You just have to have a more objective mindset with that. It's not personal. This business is so easy to take personally and be like, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. Like, it's not working for me. And if you live in that mindset, you're right. Like, it never will be. You have to put on your leadership cap and look at this from a broad perspective in order for it to work. So long-term, I'm just going to share my milestones because I think that is like a more concrete information. And I'm just going to walk through this really quickly, and then I'll let the next person go. But the milestones that I look for in myself and then duplicate with my advocates is, number one, the investment. Are they investing? Did I invest? Did I experience the product, right? Like, as a business owner, you have to spend money to make money. That's like business 101. So are they investing? So I look for that. Number two, did they launch? And that to me looks like a post. That looks to me like them putting physical or significant action into place. I still have advocates that haven't hit that milestone yet, and they've been in it for a couple months, and I won't move forward with them or push them or drag them into any other scenario until that happens. So the launch is important, but then I look for a second launch. That's so key, right? It's exactly why we're doing this call, like Jamie said, because you try one thing, it doesn't work, you give up. And that's the rest of your career. I've seen it 1,000 times over. And so has every single leader on this platform. And so I make that known to them. Hey, I noticed that you launched and then you stopped. You're not going to get going again unless you launch again. And we just kind of start over, right? So first, invest. Second, I look for the launch. Third, I look for their first sale, but then I look for the second sale. Because the first sale is easy. That's the, mom, will you please buy this? Best friend, will you please try that? Anybody can get a first sale, right? Not everybody can get a second. So that's why that's the milestone. The fourth one is to get their investment covered. Like whatever they're spending, I work to get that investment covered first before anything else. Like if you tell people that that's what your intention is as their leader, and that's what you tell yourself, I just want to get my investment covered so I can keep doing this. That's actually what helps you continue to be able to keep going, right? And then I look for growth in any way. Start small, week over week. I just look for growth week over week in any capacity, whether it's signups or volume or dollars or whatever it is. And then once we're through that, that's really when all the groundwork for them becoming, and for me personally, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like really put both feet on the gas and go, because I've established the foundation at that point. And that's when I set the non-negotiables. The non-negotiables for us are just, what is the goal that we're going to hit every single month, no matter what? Because everything after that becomes a perk that remains in the joy space, right? So non-negotiables can look like, I'm going to hit SAV by the 15th every month. I'm going to hit mentor every month. I'm going to do X amount in PV. I'm going to do X amount in sales. Like I want to host a home party, like whatever that is for you, then we set that and that's what we focus on. And I think that that's really what builds that consistency in that first year. And just having that slower approach. Again, you guys, I hit leadership, I hit senior mentor a couple of months in a row, I earned Hawaii, like, and it's nothing crazy. I think all of these other leaders probably have more volume, more advocates and more customers than me, but that's just the proof that it doesn't matter which way you approach this. You just really have to understand how to talk about this from your perspective. So like Jamie, she's so awesome at the informational, the technical, like that piece of it. That will never be me. I'm going to be more functional, benefits based, right? Like, oh, you take this collagen, like your skin's going to look better, your hair is going to glow. Like, it's just really understanding like what you personally want to speak about from your perspective. So I don't know if that's helpful. Melissa said, can you tell us how you got creative with the comp plan? Yeah, so I learned how to use a spouse account. I'll give you one example. So I have always wanted to have a philanthropic, like philanthropy type element to whatever I'm doing. And what I discovered really early on with Hugh Grace is this is a great product to be able to serve people with because it's safe. Like a lot of other companies or a lot of other products, like there's just so many factors going in with different people that you can't just be like, here's this supplement, right? Like supplements are very unique. And so for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I could give this product to someone who's going through cancer, who like is having some kind of problem. Like I can actually give this away instead of like educate or whatever. I can just be like, it's safe. Here you go. So with the spouse account, I started using my husband's customer code for all of my purchases. And I said, whoever uses this code instead of Hello 10 creates a product credit, and I'm going to use all of that product credit to sponsor someone each month who's deserving of a self-care package of some kind. And that is like also a way to community outreach, right? Like on my Instagram, on my Facebook today, if you look at my post, it says, if you were going to nominate someone for a health, like a well-deserved self-care package, who would you nominate and why? And just being able to like use some of that benefit of like the credits that we get to give back. Like to me, that's very important. And I think it's really cool to have conversations behind the scenes that said, will you please use this code if you purchase, because $10 goes towards this community outreach that we do every single month for someone deserving or someone in need or whatever it is. And it not only like helps people feel like they're also giving back, people love that, and it helps me feel good. So that's one way that I have got creative with it.
I love that. Is such a fun idea. I love that. And I think that I was just looking at time, but one thing Jason and I were talking about that this weekend at leadership and just yesterday even was the idea of like not waiting for permission, and like being a leader is like going for it, doing what works for you, doing what makes the most sense for you. And I love that you were like, okay, I went all in on social media and then I scaled back because I'm like, oh, I don't actually want to do it like this. This isn't what's right for me right now. And that's 100% awesome and okay, because that's right, that's right for you. And it's okay to like try something and then go, yeah, that doesn't feel the right place for me right now. So thank you for sharing all of that, Jace. Courtney, I know you've got to go to pick up Lucy soon. Do you have
Sorry,
time?
Courtney.
Totally fine. My daughter's in preschool 2 mornings a week, and I feel like the time just flies no matter what's going on in my day. But you know what I love so much about this business, and like just hearing from Jamie and Jace, and you'll hear from Lyndsi, but there's just really not one right way or wrong way to do this business. And for many of us coming from other spaces, there was really only ever one way taught to do things, which I do think sometimes puts people in this corner where like, that's not a strength of mine. That's not where I would thrive. And like, Jace, you sharing that like social media wasn't what felt organic or natural for me to start with. That didn't give me like that feel good vibe, and creating a path that makes you like aligns with what you want your outcomes to be, but also you feel good about in the process. Like that's really important. So I hope you guys are really recognizing and hearing from us that this is just not a one size fits all, but it is you've got to be willing to fail forward through a lot of things. I mean, that's really, I mean, that's just not specific to this business, that's life, right? And I always think, like, listening to Jace, I was thinking so much about parenting. And those of you that are parents will probably like understand this, but I mean, some of us like maybe had a clear plan and path for when we wanted to become parents, and others maybe you were surprised at becoming a parent, or some had, other journeys to get to parenting. But what I mean by that is that you don't always like give up because it got hard, right? I always remind my kids, like, I'm living, like, today is the first day I've had on this day of my life too. So like giving yourself grace to that process. And you might try one path and it doesn't work the way you wanted to. So don't give up, try something else. But with that said, commit to that for a period of time. Like, this isn't I made a post on Facebook, nobody commented, nobody saw it. This is too hard for me. Well, social media is a challenging space, guys. You are putting the algorithm up to determining your future. So that can't be, I'm going to share about Facebook and a launch party because that was a big part of my launch. But it isn't just one post and then into a group and hoping everyone has eyes on it, because it means Zuckerberg's deciding who gets to see my post that day, right? It isn't really entirely up to me. So I can't give up because Zuck was having a bad day, right? And decided, nope, today, Courtney, I'm going to show nobody your posts, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. There is a finesse about social media that takes practice, that takes learning. So you have to be open to learning that. But I don't want you to think you have to be a social media expert either, because that's going to also disappoint you, because whatever you learn next week, it's going to be something different. It's just this like ongoing learning process. So for me, what felt really organic and natural was to share on social media. I feel like I have been very consistent there. And Facebook for sure is a place I feel very confident. It's a place where I tend to get pretty good engagement. Now, again, I've been building a business for 10 years on social media, so I have a very large audience. You don't have to have a large audience to build a business on Facebook. You just need to know your market. You need to know what it is that they're looking for. And again, you may not know this to start. And I'm going to use this as an example, but when I started my previous business 10 years ago, I had an image in my mind of like who my ideal client was. And honestly, they were me. They were a former student athlete. They were like all or nothing. They were intense in things. Like, they just didn't need a plan and they dove right in. But then I started to really listen to my inbox after like those first like 3, 4, 5, 6 months of sharing my journey. I realized that my ideal client is a busy working mom who's drowning and struggling on time and needs simple solutions. So I want you to also think about what you share, what kind of conversation it creates, what your inbox looks like as you start up and going. And again, some of that takes some finesse. But I decided to do a Facebook launch page. And the reason for that was I was struggling to figure out how I would still continue to have community here, because that was just a really big, important piece for me. I wanted to make sure I had a place to bring people together, not just to sell them things, but I wanted to have dialogues and conversations, because I knew that the people that were going to join me over in this launch group were already people that knew, trusted, and loved me, right? I couldn't say the wrong thing to the right people. Now, there were definitely still some very nosy people in there, and I know that, and that's okay too, right? Like, I'm kind of a nosy person. I'm like, what's she up to? I want to join this group, and that's fine. I was like, well, I'm sure they're here just for chatter purposes, and that's okay. Learn whatever you want, girl. But I also, in building and thinking about my business and wanting to help my advocates come in, the launch plan was something I knew could, if they wanted to, be easily duplicated. It doesn't mean that they would experience the same results that I had, but it would give them a good place to start. So in creating that launch plan, it was, okay, if social media is a place that you feel comfortable and that's where you want to launch, here's my document. You know, make it sound like you, adjust the voice. You can add different things in, but it was easy for them to duplicate, especially somebody that didn't have quite as much experience on social media and they were overwhelmed with how to show up there. I kind of gave them the confidence. I carried the belief for them a little bit in the beginning, right? Like, here is a template, but know that this isn't just a week-long launch. This is just a place where you're gathering people. So then I was reminding them, and I did this too, that whenever I would share about Hugh and Grace or share a story that related to the products or related to just my story, I would include the link to the launch group in the comments so that I was constantly building that community. And I remind my advocates to keep doing that. You don't have to, I wouldn't put it on every post, but like, you know, once or twice a week, if you're using social media and you're talking about your business, you're talking about you know, goals, or you're talking about products or safe swaps or whatever, put the link there so that it redirects them to where the conversation continues to go. Because again, you're building a community of people that really know, love, and trust you. So I don't feel like I can't, like, I mean, I posted the end of the year or end of the month promotional code, the LEAP 29 in there, because those are the people that really want to see those things. Not necessarily that they don't want to see them on my news feed, but I don't want my news feed to turn into just like a whole host of sales and discounts and all this other stuff. I've moved everybody that's really interested into a smaller community that I can create engagement in. So after the launch party was over, I did like a 4-day launch. But that was just sharing the information. It lives there now. So when I add somebody in and they were curious about skincare, so what I do is somebody's in my inbox and they're like, hey, I really would like to learn about skincare. I'll send them the invite to the group and I move them into the group. And then I tag them on the posts that I've done about skincare. So it becomes like, one, I'm not spending all day like I mean, of course I'm chatting with them, listening to them, what their needs are, but I'm redirecting them to the content that's already been created. And then there's a whole, you know, page full of other information that they can search photos, they can search topics, but like they'll find all of that in there. So it continues to build that community. It continues to, I don't know, simplify what I'm doing, but also make it really duplicatable for my coaches or advocates. Sorry, I'm going to do that for a really long time, to be able to go and find the information that they're looking for too. So building that community again was something that was really, really important to me, because that was sort of like the one thing that I was like, how do I recreate this community? And so I thought that space would be a great place to do that. After the launch was over, I did change the name of my group. So it didn't just say like launch party, because the launch is just a period of time. But also like what I'm going to do next month is I'm going to relaunch that group, right? I'm going to announce my business again on the social media outlets. I'm going to redirect. And so continuing to bring in waves of people, because what you'll find is, like Jace was saying, like for some people, that first sale isn't necessarily the hard one. It's duplicating that, you know, getting your first 10 customers, you know, over your, like, let's say you set a goal to have 10 customers over your first 3 months, right? Well, what's the plan for doing that? Like, how do you keep interest and engagement there? How do you continue to expand your conversations? You almost have to like bring it back to people about it's new and exciting, right? And then redirecting and directing everybody back to the group. And that's really been my biggest way of growing my business to where it's at right now. But I have incorporated some things like Jamie and Jace were both saying too. My first few people that, I mean, I was I was enrolled for a month before I was like fully forward facing. So I used that month to really talk to my close friends and family, people that I wanted them to hear it from me before they just read about it on a social media post as it was. But I also knew that they were people that would support me in this transition, but also be really interested in the tools, right? Like I didn't want to make it about me. I wanted to share about things, but it was like, okay, I want you to be the first one to know what's going on. Here's what we offer. Like, is any of this interesting to you? And so it felt really good to have that level of support, which did boost my confidence, I will say, before actually being like totally forward facing, because for some people that news was going to be very shocking. So it was like, I wanted to make sure those that I really cared about, the most, or I knew would be there to support me through this type of transition, heard it from me first. So, I don't know. Any questions on that? I'm not keeping up with chat.
I think that was great.
Okay.
If there's questions, put them in the chat. Hold on. I want to clarify one quick thing, and then we're going to pitch over to Melissa. So spouse account that Jace was talking about is not the same as you would consider as a beach party. We don't actually want to sign our spouses up here as an advocate. It's actually kind of a no-no in the sense that, like, if you do have a spouse signed up as an advocate under you, they actually can't come on our incentive trips and stuff. So we don't want to do that. What she was referring to, because there's been a few questions, was a customer referral. So as you may or may not know, the customer referral program is so cool. It's a give 10, get 10. So I told this to my mom when she was my first customer, and I was like, Mom, you have this unique customer referral link. And if you send this to people, they get $10 off. You also get $10 in product credit. And so Jace is using her husband's customer account really strategically for this really cool community give back opportunity. So that link, like almost saying, what's the link? It is unique to every single customer. Every single customer of yours has their own customer referral link. And as the advocate, you can go through your customer management and start a new order for your customer, and then it'll take them to their customer page, and you can copy their referral link if you're wanting to to see what that looks like for someone. So we're not wanting to suggest to sign up your spouse as an advocate, like we were taught for many years, at Beach Body. That is not the approach here. So, and Court, that was so great. I love the idea of like relaunching and just continuing to have like a hub. It's a work smarter, not harder kind of thing, right? Like, and just having a resource to educate and keep them close to the fire, right? Because you can't always keep 100 inboxes or 50 inboxes hot every day. Like, it's a way to keep them close to the fire. Melissa, and then we have Lyndsi, and then we'll wrap up.
All right, I will keep this as short and sweet as possible, since most of the stuff that I did has been discussed in one way, shape, or form. Just little tweaks here and there. So I've also done an info group. I will be relaunching that tomorrow. On my bigger posts, I do post my link to that group and always get people in there. One thing I make sure that I do is one of the questions that they have to answer to get in is giving me their email address. So I would highly recommend that, especially if you have an email sequence that you send to people. Doing the samples of Hydrate Detox, and I think Court was the one who like really launched that in the Team Hub, to give her credit there. The Hydrate Detox samples, I've been doing 7 samples and selling those for $18 each. And that seems to be really helping. And I also include some recipes for them, just in case mixing it with 34 ounces of water isn't enough. I give them a whole slew of recipes that they can follow, and I make sure that they know that the health benefits. I've been getting monthly infusions of glutathione anyway for the past 6 or so months. So when I found this, it really spoke to me. So that's been my way of talking about our Hydrate Detox, because I'm really trying to detoxify my liver and all that kind of fun stuff. One of the things that, aside from those 2 things, that have been really helpful for me is parties. So the beginning of this month, I did my launch party in my home. I had a beautiful charcuterie board. I had wine, seltzer, champagne, whatever. But I invited people via an Evite on not Instagram, on Facebook. And I did that about 2 or 3 weeks prior to the event. And I posted in there every other day, every 3 days. But once we got closer to the event, it was every day. So once we got like a week out, I was posting in there every day, getting them excited about the products, getting them excited about the business opportunity, even if that was something that they were going to be considering when they came over. Ask them to bring a friend and let them know that it was a very laid back, just want to have a girls' night, come over, see this new thing that I'm doing, which I was with Beachbody for 12 years. So it was a big thing when I left. A lot of people were shocked, but even more curious about what the heck I was leaving to go to. So in a way that was kind of helpful. And I created so I created the invite, and then when they came over, I had everything laid out, just like I think it was Jamie that was talking about that when she had girls' night for wine, had things laid out, but I made like a little presentation. So it was like a 5-minute talk. I talked to everybody in the room. There were about 15 to 18 women in the room. And it was just easier for me to just give them a quick little presentation, and then they could go sample some of the products. I had 3 advocates sign up that night and about 5 customer orders. So it was successful for me. I'm planning on the note of fundraising, and in April, I rented out a space, not an expensive space. I think it's like $50 for this bar. And I'm going to have an IV. One of the girls on my team does IVs of vitamin infusions. So she's going to be there. I'm going to have a massage therapist, an acupuncturist just there talking about what they offer. And I'm going to have a table as well. And I'll make a presentation, and that will be a fundraiser for Alzheimer's. There's a woman on our team whose significant other is not doing too well with Alzheimer's. So I wanted to find something that would hit home for our team to give back to. And I'll give a portion of anything that comes in that night to the Alzheimer's Association. So I think the party for me is where I'm going to be focusing a lot of my time. And what was really neat was somebody that was at the party booked a party. So for me, it's just a way to get out of the house, doll up if I want to, and to meet people that are not on my social media. They're just not. They're on, and I have a decent social media following on Facebook, not so much on Instagram. I do a ton of my stuff on Facebook, but this is a way for me to get out there, meet more people, talk about our mission, and book more parties. So my goal is to do 1 or 2 parties a month for this year and see how that goes. So that's where my focus is going to be. Of course, social media will still be there, and I will do hydrate detox samples monthly, but my focus is going to be on home parties. So I hope that helps.
Isn't it fun where like back in the world where home parties are like such a really cool, viable option? If you had told me 12 years ago that like this was something I would ever get excited about, I would have been like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I love it. And it does feel I'm definitely in a phase too where I don't want to life cast every minute of my day on social. Like I did it for a long, and it's great if you do, right? But there is room for all of it. Like I definitely am in a season as well where I don't, Artina was just telling me, she goes, you don't post a lot in your stories, girl. And I was like, I really don't. Like I really don't. Like I go, some days I do, some days I don't. And like that's okay because I show up really consistently in other areas. Where I want to come back to you, Melissa, as if we have time at the end, but I want to make sure, but because you also did a lot, I know that a lot in the beginning with retail efforts to launch, and that didn't go exactly how you thought, but it also turned out really great in a lot of ways too. And I want to talk about that, but is that okay if we come back to you?
Yeah.
Then, because I want to talk to Lyndsi, and I'm recognizing we're maxing out the hour here, you guys. So stick with us, or if you need to come back and watch the end, but I'm finding this so valuable. And then wait, what about retreats? And so what about retreats, Jace?
Just remember when we first started and we were like, let's host like women retreats and do like Hugh and Grace retreats and
that's
yeah.
still on my vision board, 1,000%. And hormone health workshop. Like there's so many fun things that I even like, we're still like are in the hopper that is just like there's just not only certain amount of hours in the day. But Lyndsi came on last month, and I had Sarah Jensen, Craig Collier, Kelly McVeigh going, who is this Lyndsi girl? She is killing it. And you are, and you had such a strong launch. The newest launcher of our pod. And I thought it would be really great for people to hear your unique approach as well, because you're doing it even differently. So go for it, Lynn.
All right. So first I want to say I am one who goes hard. So I just want to put that out there in case you're not. Just note that I am that person. So I don't know how to do things any other way. Like, yeah, I slow down, but like I like to do it this way. It's really fun for me. So the first thing I did was I went to the people that were most important to me before I publicly made any sort of announcement. I have a community that I have built for almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years in April that I've been out here in the online space building business. And majority has gone through infertility and have some sort of autoimmune issue. I personally deal with PCOS. And as I was learning about the company, I was like, oh, this is like more my story, my thing. Nobody ever told me about products like this ever. The doctor, like nobody told me when I went through infertility, and my kids are going to be 11. So right away, I knew like the people that I had already had community with, like I knew this would connect for them and it would support them. And so I started by privately talking to them, and I got them on the phone. And I think Jamie's the one who said this at the beginning. When you get them on the phone and they hear your story and they hear your excitement, they're like, oh, I need to look at this. And so by doing that, many came on with me. So that's the first thing I did. The second thing I did was I did launch a Facebook group. So once I walked through talking to everyone who I knew needed to hear from me personally, first and foremost, I then publicly made my post. I had the girls like, what are you gonna announce? And I was like, I gotta get through a couple more phone calls first. And I made the post, and that went wild. And then I moved everybody into a group. So I followed Courtney's launch, which you guys can find in the team page. And so by doing that, that brought on a lot of people as well. And I don't always, from a big picture perspective, long-term perspective, I don't necessarily encourage an info group to be the way. I think it's the way once they're interested. So coming from a network and a community of people who already knew, like, and trusted me, it made sense. But if you are coming into this thing and you are like building like from cold market, if you're building from people who are like very new and you're just connecting and building that relationship, I wouldn't just move them into those groups just yet, unless you're really building community in there outside of just talking about products and the leap year. Like that stuff is just good. They're going to be like, oh, she just wants to sell. So like, I do think it's important to just note like where you're at with your network. If they already know, like, and trust you, then yeah, let's get them the information. If you need to build connection with them, like look at that a little bit differently. So I just want to make a note about that. Okay, so that was something I did. And then I am also really well networked here in Arizona with a lot of female entrepreneurs. I launched a coaching business where I help people. I actually help people with Facebook group strategy. That's actually what I do and have been doing since last year. And because of that, I built a huge network in Arizona. A lot of people would hire me and want me to come out and speak and things like that. And so I got to know this group, and they do different things. They're coaches, they have brick and mortar, like different type of things. And because of the relationships there, they would hear my story. So we would get on a call like this. We'd have like a little Zoom coffee chat, or we'd meet in person. And I'd be like, you won't believe what I did. Like, cause it's like, what are you up to? What's going on? How can I support you? How can I support you? That's something that we do. And I would tell them the story and they'd be like, you know, very shocked and excited for me. And because of the products we have and the just, you know, the fact that they're non-toxic and hormone safe, naturally the conversation would turn to, can I see your website? Can I look at your stuff? And I've had quite a few come on the team, which is really interesting because I do know, like, where we were, I would have never seen that kind of movement. So I think it's important to note that, like, we definitely, this company, these products attract like a whole nother level of people that would never have even looked twice with where we were. So that is something that will continue because there's just so many of them to talk to, and you can only talk to so many people in a month, right? So last weekend, while we were at right before the Great Leadership, two of the ladies were hosting a live podcast recording, and they are well known in the state, well known by many. And they sent me a text and they were like, would you be willing to bring Hugh Grace samples to this event? And I was like, okay. And so I had to leave the leadership a little bit early because I was like, the smartest thing I'm going to do is go to that room and build relationships with all these people. There were 30 female entrepreneurs in that room and they all got samples to try. So that is a huge list that I'm consistently following up with. I am not done following up with that list yet. I've been going through it slowly, and my whole thing was to offer a phone call, to offer a Zoom chat, something. Most of them are local, or meet them in person, you know, depending on where we're at, what the timing looks like. So that long term for that is like, I have a lot of follow-up. I have a lot of relationships to connect with. And this is all off social media as well, off of social media. So the thing that's really cool here is just like the idea of being able to connect with people at all different levels, like in person. And that has been what I have done in this is my 6th week here. Let me see what else I have for you guys. I'm definitely getting referrals. So people who maybe are like, I just want to send customers your way. So they're just bringing them in. They're adding them to the Facebook group for now to check information out. And like the biggest thing, and I'll keep this, I feel like this is all I need to give you guys right now. Obviously, as I'm gathering testimonials of people who are using products, I'm, you know, making sure that they are seen, because that's big social proof, and that helps people be like, oh, like maybe I should try this too. I have done samplers. I have not been the one to fully understand all the science and all the education yet. That is where I need to work. I'm more the type that's like, let me tell you my story. Let me tell you I use this. So I used it I started like right at the beginning of December, and through the whole month of December, I was like, that is so weird that I went through a holiday month and I never felt bloated. Like, and then it was like, oh, I've been drinking this. And so I just have my personal story, and I still have to really, really educate myself, which will be really fun. Sampler packs worked really nicely as well. Those I noticed 50% have turned back around to order or become an advocate. And yeah, I think that's all I got so far.
I love it. So are you guys noticing a theme, like whether they're really heavy on social or they're doing in-person events, there is a person-to-person intimate connection component to it, right? Whether it's inbox, Zoom, phone call, like coffee, lunch, wine night, there is this relationship building component. And that's really all that this requires, is building a relationship, building that trust, whether it's someone who already knows you and has that like, know, and trust you, like, know, love you, or you're starting from scratch there, but it's going belly to belly. And I think that that's just such an important thing because it's anyone. We've done that for 30, 40, 50 plus years. We all know how to do that, right? Whether we do it awkwardly or smoothly, we all know how to interact with people, one-on-one. So I think that for me, it's refreshing. Okay, I don't see questions here. I know we're at an hour, but I would love Melissa to really quickly talk. So one of the things about, and thank you, Lyndsi. I love like you have such a, it just shows what the trust and respect that you have built through your coaching and through your community networking, like you just to be like so elevated and like to have your community so eager to put you on that platform and put you on blast in a way to support. I think that's just such a testimony to how much you're loved and respected. And I think that's so beautiful because you've taken the time to build those relationships. And I just think that's so special. One of the things that we have here that's one of the coolest parts of the comp plan is that we can, we have our advocate model, which we're all familiar with. We can sign affiliates, which we're familiar with. But then there's also this retail space where you can sign up a brick and mortar business that becomes our OV, right? Our first level organizational volume. And one of the things Melissa was like really committed to doing right away was like really leveraging some business relationships that she had. So real fast, Melissa, do you want to talk about how that went and how it's going?
Yeah, so I am a big believer in throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. I've done that in business, in my Beachbody business, but in my external businesses too, to see what stuck. And I was guns blazing when it came to retail spaces. My IV girl, I'm still working on her. I thought she'd be like quick to jump. And she hasn't been, which is totally fine. She's really researching things and all that. So giving her space, but also not giving up on her either. I had a massage therapist that I was going to be talking to, and I did talk to her, and she's also simmering, but I've planted that seed, right? Some B&Bs, some bed and breakfast down the Cape. I actually just stayed at the one that I talked to, and they are not going to be doing it. And for various reasons, they want hotel-sized bath salts, for example, or hotel-sized tinctures for your face, which is fine. So I'll bring that feedback back to Sarah and Ben and see if that is something that will come down the pike. I mean, if we had hotel-sized things, I think that would be amazing for bed and breakfasts. But I went, hard at some retail spaces, some coffee shops that I figured collagen would be great in. And they are out there. I just haven't found them quite yet. And that's fine. So I will be focusing my efforts somewhere else, which is the home parties and doing fundraisers here and there and that kind of thing. But just because something doesn't go how you expected it to go doesn't mean that you failed. You put yourself out there, you figure it out as you go, you don't give up on these places, but you also don't just sit in your pity party and let it get to you. You just change your course. But yeah, it didn't work out the way I thought, but I was guns blazing. I had a list of like 6 different places, and I talked to them all. And I do have one retail under me, and that's with one of my advocates. So that's the other thing. Like, I do have a retail account with her because she is an esthetician. And I do have another IV girl who signed up as an advocate who is likely going to be opening a retail under her as well. So it's not a complete failure, just not as I had expected.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that that's what we're seeing a lot is that these retails end up becoming like maybe a lot of times the owner, like my hair and lash gal was like, oh, I'm not already signed up my salon and get my business partner involved, but like I want to be an advocate and I'm going to try this out first and really get it going. And so it's always and then the confidence that comes, like Jamie had said as well, and Melissa, like the confidence that comes from talking to people and getting, with like getting your pitch down. I think that is just seeds planted and it's, confidence flexed. So I think that, this was a lot. Hopefully the takeaway is that there are so many things still left on your launch plan to do. I'm guessing that we've all maybe tried 1 or 2 of these things, right? And then stopped there. So if it's working for you, keep doing it. but also as you know, I think of it like when I was little, when we go to the magician shows and they would spin the plates on the poles, on the sticks, and they get one plate spinning, and then they'd add another plate and another plate. Like you just, as you've got your momentum going, add more to what you're doing. But if you're feeling like, okay, what I'm doing isn't working, you now have this slew of ideas and options. You're always welcome to reach out to any of us, post in the comments of this live stream, in the team page, etc. I think that this was such a wealth of information. So thanks for hanging in for the whole hour, 9 minutes, and have a great last day of the month if you're watching this today. But otherwise, you guys, we are at, this is time stamped. So if you see this later, this won't matter, but we are at 399 people in our team. So my challenge to you, whoever signs up, the next advocate is signing up the 400th member of our team, which I think is pretty cool considering our team is 4 months old today. Like, isn't that kind of rad? So I'm going to give you that challenge to be the 400th person signer upper with our enrollment special, but have a really great rest of your month. And raise your hand if you'd be interested in like a leadership recap event from some of the leaders from that went to leadership this weekend. Yeah, okay. So we'll pull some people together and we'll figure. I got home and got really sick, as Jace pointed out. You always get sick when we travel. I should just now budget my life to fall apart when I come home from a trip. But this is the first day I've been kind of upright since Sunday. So we will do that. It'll be sometime in, sometime soon. But we are really excited to share with you guys about leadership. It was really special. It was unlike any company, corporate event or trip I've ever experienced. And it was just really a testament that we are in like a really special place and the right place. And I guess the last thing for the good of the order while I've got you, there's still a full month to earn Hawaii, guys, ladies, gentlemen. Like, there's still a full month. I can't tell you how many people earned this in just a month's time. I was not. I earned it in like 2 months. But there is so much time still to earn your spot in Maui. And like Lyndsi said, like she's like, I go hard. Like if you go hard, it's fully attainable. I mean, it's lofty, but it's fully possible. And we would love to help you get there because I think how fun will that be to get to spend time together in Maui. Okay, bye. Talk to you later. Thank you so much for hopping on today.